After single-handedly defeating the daughters of Aku and seemingly falling to his death, Jack has survived, and so has one of the daughters of Aku, who goes by the name of Ashi. Before Jack can convince the young warrior assassin that Aku is truly the evil one, they are both swallowed by a massive beast, and now Jack and Ashi are trapped inside of this monster, filled with all sorts of other demonic creatures that want to tear them limb from limb. Will Jack survive? Will the assassin kill Jack? Find out in my review of Samurai Jack. The only way that this episode could be even better is if I could have it with the limited edition Mulan Szechuan McNugget sauce. If you're still watching this review after that, then you have a great sense of humor and you can definitely be my friend. Last week, I think the internet exploded during April Fools when Adult Swim decided to show their Rick and Morty marathon, which completely interrupted the scheduling of Samurai Jack and Dragon Ball Super, but we didn't have to wait long. Here we are, here's the next new episode, and it totally lives up to the hype. In fact, I would say that this was probably the most classic episode of Season 5, still having some elements of darkness to it, while feeling like a real classic adventure from the old series. Not only that, but this is probably the most gorgeous episode of the entire Season 5 as far as I'm concerned. It really seemed like this episode was an excuse to put Jack in a lot of really interesting locales, and they could have gone really easy with this one. Like, you know, the whole concept of this episode is that Jack and Ashi have been swallowed by this massive monster, and it could have just been a, you know, fantastic journey going through the body and seeing all the body parts and everything. But considering that this creature is some sort of alien or demonic origin, it has a really interesting look to its insides. It's not typically what you would see. It's very alien. It's got a lot of weird neon colors. It makes great use of some shadowing and even taking great use of some of the lighting scenes towards the end with all of these weird fish monsters. I really can't praise this episode enough for its visuals, so I'm just going to move on to the actual story, which was really simple and also managed to be really funny. This was a hilarious episode, especially because it seems like Jack's old personality, little by little, is actually starting to come back. He's actually joking with Ashi a lot in this episode, despite the fact that she frankly just wants to decapitate him, which is kind of a running gag throughout the episode, as for most of it she is tied up with this chain, and he actually wears her like a backpack, and throughout the whole episode, all she's doing is just talking about killing Jack, glory to Aku, blah 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 blah, and for the most part, he keeps quiet about it, but there is a breaking point where he tells her to just finally shut up about it, and he tries to convince her that Aku truly is the evil one, but she's not having any of it. She has been completely brainwashed by the sisters, the faith of Aku. And that leads to basically her just being kind of a bitch for most of the episode, but it also adds basically this little concrete block to the legs of Samurai Jack. He's not going to be able to make it through this massive monster that easily, and it's not just going through the body that's difficult. There's all manner of monsters down there that want to tear him limb from limb, and I like how resourceful Jack is in this episode by taking the body parts of some of these defeated creatures and turning it into armor, even using one of this like weird creature's tentacle type things as a sword to fight back. It's really damn great, and he seems to have a lot of great humor about it as well. Like when he puts on the armor, it's really goofy, especially with all the weird poofy like blue hair that's on the back. He comments that he likes it, and he's basically just trying to warm up to Ashi a little bit, who really until the very end of the episode just wants to kill Jack. Now, the whole episode itself, like I said, is basically just watching them go on this journey through this massive creature, and it's just an excuse to look at a lot of beautiful backgrounds. So in that sense, it totally pays off. Not only that, but we get a fantastic sequence at the end of seeing them escape from this creature, which is, I don't even know what to describe it as. Like, when you see it at first, it's basically just like this big, like, round, like, thing with a big mouth, and then towards the end of the episode, they're actually out in the middle of the ocean, so it might even be like some sort of, like, whale-type creature, some sort of orca, because its blowhole opens up, and that's actually how they're going to escape from it, with these, like, weird, translucent, neon-glowing fish that they're actually going to ride on so they can go up through the blowhole. But it leads to this action sequence where they get attacked by this massive fish that wants to devour them, and this is a part of the episode where I absolutely love the lighting, because all of these fish-type creatures, are actually like translucent, and you're actually like seeing the insides of their bodies. And since they're in the dark, they have this like glow to them. But when they actually have the actual like light come in on them, you only see sort of like their inner structure. Like you see like their skeletons and everything. And, you know, Samurai Jack is not above experimenting with using interesting color schemes. I think we've seen that in the past as well as in Season 5, but it's used to great effect in this episode right here, which makes it one hell of a visual treat. And eventually they do escape. He manages to save Ashi, and at the very end of the episode, she actually manages to free herself. It looks like she's going to try and kill Jack, when suddenly she sees this cute little ladybug, and she's reminded of when she's younger, when she actually saw one, and one of the mothers of Aku came over, took that away, and squished it, basically saying these are the evils of the world. But when she sees it going over to Jack, the ladybug landing on his hand, suddenly she's overcome with relief, drops her weapon, and realizes maybe what she's doing this entire time has been very, very wrong. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Samurai Jack? This is without a doubt, I think, the hardest episode of Season 5 to review for me, mostly because it is a very visual episode, but it managed to have such a great mixture of dark elements and humor. There's a great scene where both Jack and Ashi are going through the monster, and they're in this brand new room where suddenly it starts to rain, but it's actually not rain, it's these like little red needles. And they take shelter under some sort of organ, and when they're under there, they're both sitting there, and they are just covered head to toe in these, like, little red spines, and they just have this, like, little stare-off for a second, and then Jack's like, okay, well, you know what we have to do, and then the next couple seconds are just followed by him slowly pointing these things and picking them out of his skin and off of Ashi, and he even tries to make a joke. He's like, you know, this is actually kind of like acupuncture. People actually pay for this kind of thing, and Ashi just does not give a shit. Throughout the whole episode, Jack has a great sense of humor, especially now that he realizes he doesn't have to worry about multiple people trying to come after him, and he's a lot more confident knowing that he can take down Ashi if he actually has to. But his new option is he actually wants her to live. If he can actually get out of this without having to kill everyone, it's actually a good thing. You can see a lot of this reflected in his good humor and the fact that there's another scene where he talks with his inner self, which, unlike the last time we saw it, wasn't all, like, distorted and freaky looking. It's little by little starting to look like a more normal version of Jack, which is to show that maybe he's starting to sort of, like, bring his sanity back, which I think is a really great visual as well. That, with the rest of the episode, just looked damn fantastic. It was a journey through a giant monster with some absolute beauty on the inside, which I think is a great metaphor in and of itself. So, the wait was worth it, guys. It was a great episode, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen from here, because Ashi might actually be deciding to join Jack on his journey. She might just decide to go for straight freedom. There could be a relationship which could be formed between these two characters, but there's no preview to what could possibly happen with that, because the preview for the next episode, it looks like we're finally getting the return of the Scotsman, Gatling gun, leg, and all. And I definitely think that's going to be a fan-favorite episode. It also looks like Aku is going to be coming out of his ridiculous retirement and showing that he can be just as destructive and just as crazy and maddeningly terrifying as he is funny. Next week's episode is the one I think I've been the most hyped for. I absolutely love the Scotsman character. He has such great delivery and some of the best insults that I have ever heard. And I can't wait to see some of those being delivered right at Aku. I really hope that the Scotsman and Jack are going to actually be able to meet each other again, too. That's like my greatest thing that I want to see. I really don't want to see him die either, because unlike Jack, the Scotsman is aging, and he's definitely pretty old at this point when you consider how old he was when he met Jack originally. So, great episode, as is the entire series at this point. I can't praise it enough. You guys need to check it out. This was another 5 out of 5 episode. I loved it, and you should check it out. If any of you guys did watch this episode of Samurai Jack, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. What do you hope to see from the future of Jack and Ashi? Did you have a favorite scene or a favorite backdrop from this episode? What do you hope to see in the next one with the return of Aku and the Scotsman? And what do you hope to see from the rest of the 5th season of Samurai Jack? Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for all things Samurai Jack and anime reviews related. Make sure to leave me a comment or two. I'd love to talk with you guys about this week's episode. And of course, if you liked this video, why don't you give it a thumbs up? If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay stay dandy, baby.